Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So this event is brought to you by DataTalks.Club, which is a community of people who love talking about data. And this is one of the weekly events that we have. So we have actually two weekly events. One that we have today is more like a live discussion. We call it live podcast, where we talk about different topics without slides. And well, this is the only slides you have at the beginning, but then there are no slides. And if you want to find out more about events, you can go to our website, datatalks.club/events. And yeah, little spoiler, I'm going to tweet that. And then, yeah, so you can see the events we planned for the future. So next week, we will just have one event. We'll talk about data science for social good. And then next Friday, we will take a break in Germany. For those who are not in Germany, next Friday is a public holiday. So many people will be taking vacation. And then we will have 1 week after that. We will be talking about a similar topic to what we will be talking today, shifting career from analytics to data science. So stay tuned, check our events. And yeah, the best way to stay up to date with our events is subscribing to our newsletter and then joining our Slack. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then you will get notifications each time a new stream starts. To ask questions, you can use Slido. So in the live chat, there is a link with Slido. Just click on this link. And at any moment of time, if you want to ask a question, use that link. It's better to keep track than live comments. So please use that link for asking any questions you want. And I will try to, to bring these questions during our discussion. So that's all. Now I am going to make that tweet that you saw. Okay. It just happened. And yeah, are you ready to start?
Sure.
So this week we will talk about transitioning from project management to data science. And we have a special guest today, Ksenia. Ksenia is currently working as a data science manager at Momox. And after 4 years working as a project manager, she turned her career towards data science. She spent 3 years researching fraud and anomaly detection techniques, and she earned a degree in data analytics. Welcome, Ksenia.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so before we go to our main topic, can you tell us about your career journey?
Yeah, sure. Just a couple of words to understand what my background. So in 2013, I got fundamental education in math in Russia, in quite prominent university. And then I got another management degree in 2014. Then I spent 4 years, as Alexei mentioned, in project management, and I have been working and managing projects in e-services, governmental services, traveling, telecom, and other fields. Then I acquired another degree, master degree in information system management that also Alexei mentioned. And in parallel, I was doing research for 3 years, and I will explain about it later on in further details. I think it's important for our topic today. And then I'm working as a data scientist since 2019, already for 2 years. And currently I'm working in Momox, and I shifted my focus from fraud detection to marketing. And currently I'm applying data science technique in marketing, and it's quite entertaining. And I really like this field so far. And there are a lot of optimization challenges, a lot of things to predict and improve, and it's really nice place and position to work.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm curious. So data science is such a field that attracts many people from quite different backgrounds. For example, I am a software engineer. Many data people who are working in data analytics also go into data science, and then sometimes project managers like yourself get interested in this field. So I'm curious, how did it happen for you? What motivated you to start going to, like, when you realized that machine learning is such an interesting field? How did it happen?
Yeah, this question that I have heard so many times, and probably I will rephrase it. Basically, before going to machine learning, I realized that data analysis basically is super interesting for me, because when I have been working in project management, I worked close to development, and my work was associated with decision making. And I was curious every time when I make some decision, is it right or not? And why should I decide it? And how can I decide it? I don't know, right? And at those times, the such concept as know your customers principle in marketing, and also customer-centric way of thinking has been developed and integrated in businesses, and people start to learn what actually customers want. And it's of course associated with a lot of data that companies has towards their products, and you can analyze it. And it would be not smart to not use this data. And at those time, I realized that I want to make a decision which would improve product, but based on the customer's preferences, because it's not me who decide what direction of product should go, but it's customer who actually drive this business and who consumes this product. And I think it's super important to analyze data and to understand the sense out of this and what your customer wants. That's how I get into the data analysis, and that's why I became interested in this field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, you worked as a project manager, and you needed to make a lot of decisions. And then usually to make these decisions, you would rely on data, and you realized, okay, analyzing data is such an interesting thing. And you first got into data analytics more for supporting your decisions, for supporting this decision-making process, right? And then like after that, this transition from data analytics to more machine learning and data science?
Yeah, I would say this is the next step. When you really analyze data and you feel comfortable with this, when you learn some packages to analyze data, to visualize data, to deliver your findings and also interpret it on the business level, then you start becoming interested in, okay, what next? Okay, I derive this knowledge, but what my customer will do next? And I personally think, and it's not my view, but it's like data analysis is more focused on historical data and derives a sense of what your customers did or how your business went so far. And data science is forecasting the future. So you try to predict what's going on. And I think that you probably can't go to data science without transitioning this path through data analytics. And data analysis is the main part of, not main, but part definitely of any data science project, because you have to analyze your data just to build your hypothesis on top of what you observed.
Yeah, and so you already, so we had a question, what is the difference between data analytics and data science? And I think you just covered that. So yeah. I don't think there is much to add to that, right? And if somebody decides to study data science, how do they, like for you, how did it happen? So you realized, okay, there is a lot of potential in data. Right? So I need to analyze this data. I need to understand what's going on. How did you decide which things to study to be able to do this?
Yeah, this I tried. Firstly, I tried to search through the internet by myself and just find some courses on Udemy and Coursera and so on. But soon, if you do the same, you will figure out that the amount of knowledge is immense, and you kind of lost where to start. And I felt the same at my time when I start to approach this topic. And but my benefit was that I already got familiar with math, statistics, probability theory, and every these fundamental things that you need for data science. But anyway, I things that you have to come out of your background, because if you try to if you try to shift your career from backend developer developments, probably you are already experienced in coding, engineering stuff and so on. So probably you wanted to learn some packages for data analysis and also improve your statistical knowledge, something like this. And if you come from data analysis, it's another pool information that you have to pick up before. So you have to understand your strengths, then realize what is lacking for you in your skill set, and then add it up to your profile. For me, it was like I really fond of fundamental things, and I already got 2 degrees, and I decided, okay, why not get the third one? That's why I choose my path. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned, I think, if I understood correctly, so you mentioned that for you, you already had this mathematical background, you already knew statistics.
Yeah.
Is it something you needed to use as a project manager, or this is something that was you learned during your studies?
Yeah, I was just lucky that I got math as my first degree, and it was, I would not say that at 17 years old I definitely knew what I wanted to do for my life and knew what to learn and so on. My math degree was chosen and I learned it. I probably did not use it so extensively in my project management career so far, but I'm really grateful that I had in my background, because it helped me a lot when I got into this data analytics degree. And it was super useful. I knew all of this stuff, and the main thing was just to remember it from bottom of my head. And yeah.
Okay, so you studied mathematics during your bachelor, then
Yeah.
you worked as a project manager, right? And then you got into data analytics, and then you started to learn all these things, and you realized, okay, this stuff that I learned at university was actually very useful, right? And this
Yeah, but
helped you.
it wasn't like this purely because the casuality, like, okay, I know math, and it's like my strengths, and how I can improve my profile based on this. So I don't want to just waste what I already have. So, and data analysis and machine learning was based on what I already have. Basically, I want to extend my knowledge. So it wasn't like spontaneous decision. Of course, I realized that I will need math for this, and oh, okay, I know it already.
Mhm.
So yeah,
So but I guess math is not the only thing you needed, right, for that. So
definitely.
in addition to mathematics, you also needed to, what are the other things you needed to pick?
Yeah, you definitely need engineering skills and ability to code. I think it's super important, and we will cover this later on. Another thing, you need to analyze data, because mathematics is just a theory, but when it comes to practice, you really have to get this feeling of why you need it and how you can apply it, and it's also skills that you have to acquire and train. And another thing that I also find quite important is domain expertise. So when you work as a data scientist, you are not working in space. Yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere. You're working on a specific field, and you also have to study it. And it would be also nice if you know business KPIs, if you know what you want to achieve in business terms, and so on. So this what definitely has to be learned.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So you tried to learn this. You also mentioned you tried to pick up the skills online by trying to do courses on Udemy, Udacity, but it was just too much information, too many courses. It was too difficult to choose what to learn, and you decided to go to get a master's for this reason. Right?
Yeah, because I think that these people, they're professional in education, right? So they definitely should know how to teach people. And I think that the main reasons that I can summarize why it's worth to go to master degree, it's first of all, it's deep enough. You probably can from university, you can the deepest knowledge as you can find, or in books by yourself. But it would be more difficult, I would say, than just go to lecture and to get these buzzwords, get this feeling, and understand the concept and so on from people that you can ask. And this is super cool. So deep enough, well structured, because people who construct this study plan for you, they thought before what should be covered in what order. And when you start to trace some websites and internet, you probably can be lost in understanding what you should study before and next, to not be lost in this information. So it should be sequential. Your learning plan should be sequential, and university should know how to do this. Then definitely you have to experience the increasing level of complexity. Because if you just straight away dive into neural networks and deep learning, you probably can feel overwhelmed or even demotivated to proceed, because it's quite difficult to start with. And this is another benefit of going to university, because they structure it for you in this increasing pace. Then feedback that I already mentioned. So you have to do some exercises, you can ask for feedback and so on. And another thing that I find really cool here in Germany, during my study, I got a position in research laboratory, and I spent 3 years during my study as a researcher. And I was lucky that I studied something in lecture and course, and I immediately applied to the practice. And it was so beneficial, because if you learn something and you don't apply it straight away, it's probably will be fade out of your head, and it's a pity. You have to learn it again and again in the future. So this why I choose degree.
Okay, and what things did you study? So I understood the benefits. It's very hard to argue with these benefits, but I'm wondering what concrete things you studied at university. Perhaps like the most useful things in your opinion. What subjects or courses?
Because I knew that I want to go towards data science career, and in universities there were a lot of freedom to choose, and I have chosen the hardest courses, I would say, because I was really interested in it. I choose 2 machine learning classes, supervised and unsupervised, then 2 artificial intelligence classes. They're quite different, but they speak about the same problems, but from different angles. Then multivariate analysis, statistics, time series analysis, graph theory, networks analysis, and all this mathematical stuff. I felt that I knew math, and probably I can tackle these courses. And so this kind of.
So it was quite focused on data science, right? So because you could select the courses you wanted, so you knew what you wanted to study, and you picked up courses that you thought that will be super useful for your career, like machine learning, artificial intelligence, statistics, and
because from my previous experience as a project manager, I observe the problems. I know what business needs, or at least have an impression that I know it, and I try to base my choice of courses based on what I observed in the business. So it's also another benefit to go to master program after having some experience, because you kind of understand what you will be resolving later on in the work, and why you have to choose this or that.
So I can already see how your background as project manager was useful. It feels like it was very carefully planned, like the way you approached your studies. Like you knew what you wanted to do, and you just went for this. So that's really cool. I know we already talked about online courses, and you perhaps had the chance to compare these online courses and the courses you took at university. What is your opinion? Like how they are different, and what worked better for you?
Yeah, probably here I can even give advices to people who are interested, and probably choose between having a degree online and going to university. I have some experience in it. basically useful courses. It depends on your purpose, always. And if you want to pick up some knowledge about some specific package to analyze or visualize data, it's enough to just go to Code Academy and just pick the first course that explains you the semantic and to give some example, and you just learn it immediately for 1 or 2 evenings. It's another story. But if you really want to understand the deep nature of data science concept and so on, I can recommend you some nice courses, online courses that helped me. I didn't do it during my university because during the study I took a lot of classes, and also I worked as a researcher, and I had enough practice and knowledge to consume and people to ask. It was a full learning process. But after, when I graduated, I realized that okay, sometimes when you do one thing, you might forget something else, and you have to refresh your knowledge. And what I prefer, I am doing some classes on machine learning every year, just to refresh knowledge about everything, because usually at work you don't use everything that you learned, but it's still important to have in mind. And I personally find this fundamental online class, what I could recommend. There is an open data science community, and they provide, I know, definitely once per year, this online course, and designed by Yuri Kashnitsky, a super well-structured course, which get you deep understanding of the algorithm and also provide a lot of practice. And you can communicate with tutors and also get feedbacks, and you also communicate with peers and learn from them. I personally really like it, and guys did nice course, and it's completely for free. So
I'm googling it right now. It's called mlcourse.ai. So I will put it now in the chat. Yes, I also took that course, and this is amazing. And I also took this course when I was already working as a data scientist, and definitely, like, when it comes to this understanding of different algorithms, I think this is a really great course.
Oh, I repeated your experience just unconsciously.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I already mentioned that I think your background as a project manager really helped you, at least in structuring the way you approached your education, like deciding which courses to take. I think it was really it was well thought through. But were there any other things from your experience as a project manager that helped you? Like when you were transitioning from, I think you mentioned also domain experience, right?
That's true, but I changed domains so often. I would not go it for myself because I'm not that representative here. But definitely, I summarize some background that you can transfer from project manager to data science. It's not that obvious, and I really like to put some time on this question. Basically, some people think that it's quite obvious to transfer from data engineering or from data analytics to data science, okay, because you can code, you can analyze data, process data, and you already know some query languages and so on. But people, I think, underestimate what benefits you can bring to data science coming from project management. And this benefits is in soft skills, definitely. What I want to mention it, you are experienced in planning projects, and any data science project is first of all project, and you have to plan it in advance, and you already know how to do this, right? You have to focus on big picture, so not restrict yourself to some details, but you have to plan your roadmap, set some milestones, and so on. So it's typically a normal project that you have to set up. And you have to decompose it, you have to schedule it, you have to plan it, and this you already know how to do. It's quite important, and usually it has been done by some lead or manager or so on. And in data science, being data science manager, it's the best thing that you can do, because you know both things from both things from your perspective. And you also can define success measures. It's quite important and really difficult, because people tend to define it from their point of view. And if you're really into business, if you really stay close to the business decisions, you can identify your success in terms of business, revenue, margin, or what you can imagine. And this, what boards and managers really like when you work as data scientists, you can speak with them on the same language and they can understand you. You are transparent, and it's super important. What I observe from my practice. What else? Speak the same language. That's what I mentioned. And I think that it has been already covered in your in one of Data Talks podcast by Vin Vashishta. He spoke a lot about the importance of business language, and it was quite nice talk, I remember. What I also find useful, borrow from project management experience, is be business oriented. So when you make some analysis, data analysis, you extract and derive some sense, some knowledge. You probably find some outliers and you plot some distributions. Okay, it's nice, but what does it mean? Not for you as a data scientist or statistician. What does it mean for business? Where do you lose money? Where do you earn it? Why you lose some customer? Why churn rate so high, and when? And it's really important to put it in the business language and to understand the reason what your distribution shows you in terms of business terms. And also understanding the business really help you in problem definition. So you can frame your problem before solving it really clear for everyone. And it's also entangled with the business understanding. I think that Yelena Samoilova mentioned it in her talk, how your machine learning project will fail. So she spoke a lot about problem definition and how it is important. And for this, you definitely should understand how business works. Then you, as a project manager, already had experience to communicate with stakeholders and to be clear to deliver the right information in the right time, in right order. This everything that's important also in data science, because you build model not for building it, but to deliver value to the business and to communicate it right. And the last thing, probably not least, what I also put in my list, is be proactive. It's really, when you're project manager, you have to be proactive. You have to initiate many processes. You have to organize people, organize things, and plan, and so on and so on. And this proactivity is super nice also in data science, because it somehow, from my point of view, fills a gap between technical implementation, engineering, and concepts, mathematical concepts, to the business. And this really where I feel that people could improve themselves to get on business level. And this proactivity and curiosity about business purposes, about business KPIs, will definitely help to bring your model on next level and estimate it in business KPIs. And yeah, so this is what project management, my project management experience bring me to the data science.
Yeah, and yeah, thanks for mentioning some of the presentations we had on Data Talks Club. And for those who are listening or watching, they are on our YouTube channel. Right now, I'm a bit busy to put the links there, but you can just go to our channel after this talk, and you will find. So one was a talk by Vin Vashishta about monetizing machine learning, and the other one from Yelena Samoilova about how your machine learning project will fail. So these two, and I think the Elena's talk is one of our top most watched talks. So yeah, check it out. And I wanted to ask you also, so you mentioned that one of the things that helped you most were like this planning skill. So you were able to plan a project because the data science project is a project, and because you had experience planning projects, you can take this experience and apply it to data science projects, and then seeing this big picture. And I'm wondering, for those who do not have this background in project management, maybe there is a simple course or a book that they can take to get this skill, this planning skill. Maybe you have some recommendation for that.
Definitely, and it's a fortune that it's already developed. I would recommend to use the standard of the industry in data mining, CRISP-DM framework. It's really convenient for data science projects, and I think this is so far the standard, and I also use it. It's nice structured, and you can structure your project based on the stage of the CRISP-DM framework. It's really well designed, and yeah, so I think it's one way to go. And it, regardless either you come from project management or from whatever, it's nice to use in data science. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is, even though it's a bit old methodology, I don't know, it's 20 years old. I think it's surprisingly, it's surprising that it still applies to projects these days. So, like, would you say that planning skill was the most useful one to have, or?
I think that the most useful skill to have for in my situation, at least, is being business oriented. Because your business, your stakeholders expect from you to deliver value, and of course you have to plan. It's like without any doubt. But if you being transparent, if you speak the same language, if you orient to business KPIs, this is what brings you the most success to really deliver value, and not statistical inferences from the data, but transfer them to the business terms. I think this would be the most important thing for data scientists. That helps.
Okay. We have a question from Sandala.
Cool.
So, do you think an experienced project manager would already be a good fit for a junior data analyst role, or they still would need to learn some things to pick up some extra skills to be able to work as a data analyst?
That's yeah, I think I mentioned it, but yeah, I will elaborate more on my response. Basically, become a data analyst after project manager career it's exactly the way to go, because you see a lot of data, you have to analyze it, and you have to derive some knowledge out of this. And what I would recommend you to start with, if you already working as a project manager and you are eager to tend your career towards data science, just start to analyze data, what you already have, because you have your data, you have your project, and I'm sure that you definitely know how you can improve your decision based on your data. So you can start straight away, and it will be amazing because you will be motivated in doing this. Like going after your full day of work to your home and pick some knowledge from some courses, it's probably not that motivated because you're already tired and you want to relax and so on. It's overwhelming, I would say. But if you really try to apply your knowledge and your skills in data analysis on your work, it's just a way to go, because it's also beneficial for your project management task, because you will decide better, you will make better decision based on the data and based on the knowledge that you derived. So try to apply your knowledge already being a project manager and try to get into data analysis as soon as possible.
Well, I assume the usual technology stack, the tools that data analysts use, is quite different from what a project manager would use. So I imagine, like for a project manager, the tool, the to-go analysis tool would be Excel. Microsoft Excel or something similar like spreadsheet software. So how would you go from this working with Excel spreadsheets to SQL or even Python and Pandas?
Yeah. Probably I would recommend to start with frameworks that already developed for data analysis, and it's actually drag and drop tools. For example, Tableau, for example, 3-factor for data cleaning and data analysis. And it's you don't need to learn any coding language to start with this tool, but you already can analyze it. You already can understand some summary statistics from this tool. Just put your data there and try to play around with this, to plot some distributions and to analyze it. So you don't need actually code at the very beginning. As a next step, I would definitely recommend to get some courses on Python, probably just a simple one from Udacity or somewhere, and just to get some basic knowledge about packages that you can analyze data and visualize it. It's not that difficult at all, because Python has really low threshold to get in, and it's easy to learn. That's why it's so common in community, because it's really not that hard. And I definitely recommend you as a next step, try to pick some Python knowledge and already apply some matplotlib charts or something like this, and pandas. Yeah.
So what would be the best way to start actually with coding? One thing, of course, I think you mentioned, just take some course, online course. I don't know, maybe it doesn't really matter which one. Just take one course and try to go through this. Or maybe you have some recommendations. But so what I want to ask is, okay, somebody did this course. So what's next? Like, how can they apply this to actually solving the problem?
For me, it was like I started to analyze data with Python in university, and I had some class on this, but it was mostly recommendation and buzzwords like Jupyter Notebook, and you figure out by yourself what's going on. So it's not like somebody teach me also. And now what my way to how I would recommend people to really understand where to go in data analysis, for example, join communities. It's super important. That's what I learned. And I regret that I didn't do it early. DataTalks community, open data science community, and all this, it's a lot, and this is a trend like we have observed last week. Community is really powerful, and don't be shy, because in this community there are a lot of people on different levels, and you can ask whatever you have in mind, and people quite open and willing to help. Start to learn from the people and start to be curious about things. So that's what I would recommend, and you will definitely figure out how people analyze data. Another advice that I just remember that start to open account on Kaggle. So that's what also helped me a lot, and observe and study from others, because in Kaggle you will find a lot of open notebooks, and you can understand how people basically analyze data, and just start to repeat it. So fake it until you make it, right? So start to repeat the best techniques, the best practices, what you observed. Try to pick, of course, the advanced, people who really achieved a lot of on Kaggle, because they probably will code some professional functions and so on. And just try to observe what other people do. If you start to learn, it's important.
So you don't need to compete on Kaggle to actually learn from this, right? You can just go to take a look at these notebooks, kernels, and try to reproduce what others are doing there. And that's already a very good start, right?
Yeah, from the very beginning, probably you cannot compete if you don't want, but I did, and it was quite fun, because it was a group, as I mentioned, in open data science communities. This course, they actually one or two homeworks was to compete on this Kaggle competition. And it was fun because it was a group of people who tried to solve the same problem. And then in the very end, we share our notebooks and we learn from each other. And you resolve this problem and your peer resolves this problem, and you probably might find his solution interesting, or I don't know, to learn from others, and somebody learn from your solution. I think it's nice and it's fun. I think it's really important to stay motivated during the learning process.
And yeah, but when you so Kaggle is fun, and you of course can you can acquire a lot of useful skills there. You can also do this by courses, and then you can do a couple of courses about Python, a couple of courses about analytics. But at work, and if you work as a data scientist, it's not enough, right? So you also need to have some other skills. Like, for example, once you train the model, you need to be able to perhaps put it in Flask or Docker, or package it in Docker and deploy somewhere. And this is, I imagine, for people who did not code as project managers and who were doing things with Excel. This is a pretty big leap to go from that state to, talking about Docker and Kubernetes and all these things. So so after doing Kaggle, so let's say, what would be the next step to actually to pick up these skills as well?
Yeah, it's a super nice question, because it also was a question to me. So how to jump from this analytical skills to machine learning, and then machine learning in production. Yeah, so it's a different story. And how I overcome this, I get to work, and basically I learned it on work at work, because this where you see this enterprise environment, where you see how people work, and you also collaborate, and also collaborative development is quite different from what you write in notebook, right? So you have to understand how Git work, you have to use it, you have to merge and some branches and so on. So it's different process, and you also should understand how to deploy your code and test, and what tests exist and so on. So all these practices of development should be also picked up. And for this, I would already recommend some advanced books. For example, Clean Code. It's really nice and important to read if you want to improve your coding skills. And this already advanced skills, I would say, you can improve and learn at work, and just to observe how people do this. And in the parallel, you can also read books about this. You're right, it is quite big leap, and yeah.
So basically what you're saying is it's enough to get hired as a data scientist. It's enough to know well the theory, do a bit of Kaggle, know some basics of programming, know how to visualize data, to do some data analysis, all these things. So this is sufficient to get hired as a data scientist. But then on the job, you learn all these production skills. You learn about Docker, you learn about other things, right?
Two more things. What I planned for myself to acquire a job easily after graduating from university. Basically, I got into research, and I spent 3 years on specific domain. And it was super beneficial, because when you become professional in some specific domain, you know things, and you can bring this knowledge to some company. And what I learned, and my thesis was about fraud detection, I really studied this topic for 3 years, and I coded a lot on this topic, and I produced some projects on it, different ones, and it was super beneficial for me to get hired, because my next work after university, after research position, I got hired as a fraud detection data scientist, and the theory that I could bring to the company was super beneficial. So I would recommend, if you really want to study at university, get involved in some projects, research project, or get position in some laboratory because it really helps you to practice, first of all. And the second, try to be T-shape. I think it's old concept, but it's still valid, I would say. So you have to know or had impression about anything like math, statistics, engineering, analytics, and so on and so on. But choose your strengths, choose your domain, choose your topic where you can say that I know things, I know how to do this. And this will definitely help because, you can then put it in your career and use this benefit that you learned.
Yeah, that's indeed something that many people overlook, and for me personally, it was also the case. Like having this experience in a specific domain. For you, how did it happen then that you choose this particular domain of fraud detection? Was it just by coincidence, or you were actively looking to get involved into this field?
Yeah, probably for me it was an accident, but I would recommend that any topic or domain that you choose you should be passionate about this, because otherwise you lost motivation pretty soon. In my case, it was that when I got a position in university and I got enrolled, during the first semester in university, I was so active and I wanted to study. So one professor noticed me and invited to work to Deutsche Telekom in his laboratory because he saw that I could deliver and I could help him and to get some result on his research. And for me, it was surprising because I didn't search for any work at those time. So for me, it was pure coincidence, and I just answered that, okay, of course, let's go, because I really want to get this practical knowledge. And if you can also provide me some feedback on my work, it would be so cool collaboration. And that's how I get involved into the research. I didn't plan it, but now I can tell definitely that it worth to do this if you can get involved into the projects.
Yeah, so what you did was you were active during classes, and then people noticed you, the professor noticed you, and invited you to the lab. And then after graduating, you already had some domain experience in fraud detection, and I guess the position you were looking for was also in this area in fraud detection.
True. Yeah.
Okay. And was it very helpful for you to have this experience already in this domain? I guess your conversation on interviews.
It was purely about fraud detection and what techniques I have been using so far. So, and what was helped a lot because that my thesis was on really advanced topics. So in my thesis, I modified node to vec, a technique that has been developed in 2016 for analyzing networks. And I apply this technique to define or analyze money laundering and fraud and anomalies in loan networks. And basically, I was working on the identifying fraud in monetary transactions. And it's super hot and useful topic, I would say. And then I applied to the companies that also working with money laundering, with fraud and so on. So it was a match. Right.
So it was a very focused approach. So you had this domain expertise, and then you focused specifically on companies that were doing this sort of thing. Okay, and I guess it worked out, right?
Yeah.
So out of I don't know if you remember the statistics. Do you remember how many applications did you send and how many interviews you got?
Oh, it was a lot. After university, I sent around 50 applications. And I got actually 3 offers and I choose from. Yeah, it is tough. So when you try to get the first data science position, just remember about it. Don't be desperate or so on. It's hard every time for everyone. So don't be disappointed with this.
But it also means that there were 50 companies. I don't know what was your search area, like was it just Berlin or Germany or Europe? But 50 is quite a few, right?
Yeah, and I was quite ambitious. I also applied in Big Four companies and Google, because my thesis based on the techniques that they extensively use, like node to exhaust time. It was super there, and I applied in Zurich, but it's like yeah, so it was nice to do, I would say. Of course, I didn't hope for anything, but yeah.
And Big Four is like these big consultancy companies like
exactly.
PwC, Deloitte.
BCG, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a question. It's did you feel any discrimination as a woman when interviewing? Or
I would say no, not at all. So I think that every time when I got interviewed, I think that people asked me professional questions on my topic. And I would say that I don't feel any discrimination at my processes, at least.
was it mostly in Germany, or you also you said applied to Zurich? Right?
Yeah. I didn't get into interview process in Zurich, but yes, any interview processes that I got so far, I got in Germany. Yeah, it was quite professional, and I say that it's decent processes. Yeah.
And do you think you saw any difference between the applications that you covered in courses, in classes, and real applications in the industry? That's a question from Pamela.
Yeah, it's totally corresponds. But what I want to emphasize here, I already applied these techniques to practice during my research, and this was extremely beneficial, because when you just learn these techniques and machine learning approaches and you don't apply it, okay, you don't really understand how it works on the hood. But if you apply it immediately, you understand it, you remember it, and you can repeat it. And so then when I go to work after university, I already knew more or less what I'm going to do, because I already did it. Yes, it's definitely important. It's definitely useful. And what I have learned at university is applicable. Yeah.
So it was quite so there was no big gap between theory and practice. Sorry.
I would say no, but it also depends on the courses that you choose, right? So I try to choose this, practical, deep courses, which I know will be definitely useful. Another tip, actually, I remember that I want to share with you, if you will find work, search for work as a data scientist or so, and you just at the very beginning of your career changing, open and analyze the job description, data science job description that you can find in the internet. Because in this way, you will at least get familiar with techniques, with what your employer expects from you. And this is super important to know in advance what to learn, because you can learn something, for example, MATLAB. It's useful. You can do a lot of stuff with MATLAB, but not many employers, I would say, require it. And to be prepared from the very beginning to not learn stuff that you don't need or not applicable in the end. So try to research on the job market and from the very beginning to understand why you do this and what you actually have to do.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Yeah, I don't know if we have enough time for this question, but I really wanted to ask you about, let's say somebody wants to go into data science now, but they don't have enough time, or maybe they don't have enough freedom to, let's say, quit their job and do a master's and spend 2-3 years doing that. Do you have any recommendations for them? How should they structure their learning plan to be able to still make the transition while working?
Yes, I think I can give some tips or some recommendations. First of all, start to be interested in data analysis and start to apply this on your work already. This would be like a first step of getting involved in some data analysis. Then when you feel that you can do something and you can derive some knowledge and you can use it for your decision-making process, if you don't have time or opportunity to get to university, what I would recommend probably to get involved in some structured courses on data science. For example, this I didn't do it by myself, but I know some people who did it. Nana degree from Udacity, I think, or Udemy, I don't remember, but there is Udacity. Yeah. So this Nana degree that lasts 6 months. One friend of mine, she did it, and she got some good impression from these courses, and she learned a lot. They provide some solid program, and the main thing that they structure it so you will not lost during the learning process. And 6 months, I would say, it's not enough to really be a good data scientist or so, but at least you can follow this path, and then when you graduate from this, you can get involved in the open data science courses, SML course that we mentioned before. It would be a next step. And what I mentioned before, you have to increase the level of complexity steadily. So don't try to jump in the most deep topic, and because it will not gonna help you, but try to go with small steps and to really get focused. That's probably how you can approach this path without university degree.
Do you remember which courses your friend took? And I don't know if your friend was a project manager, or what kind of transition?
She's from economics, and yeah, so she's quite well in statistics. I think it exactly track data science track on another degree. I think it's like
yeah, because I imagine that to be honest, I don't know much about economics. What kind of tools they use at work, or what they learn. But I imagine they already know they know math, and perhaps they already know some data analytics, at least basics, like maybe Excel or something. Right?
Yes. Of course, she's familiar with statistics, with math, and yeah. So it depends on your background, of course. If you're not familiar with math, you have to figure out how to study it, because it's a basis.
So you like, if you don't know math, you need to find a way to pick it. Do you maybe have any recommendation which areas? Because math, when we say math, it's a lot of things, right? You can study math for 100 years and will not cover it.
That's true.
Any areas in mathematics that you think are particularly useful?
Probability theory, for sure. Statistics, if I can put it, it's like it's not, it's probably separate, but for me, it was also graph theory is super important. What else? Differential equations, that's what I studied. But if you are not familiar with math, to study it by yourself from scratch, I find it super challenging. And in this way, I would probably go for practical use cases and start to understand it from practice, because it's better if you do it by yourself. You understand why, what the result, what the input, and so on. So at least this kind of understanding, this kind of way of thinking, that's what you can develop. But start with theoretical fundamentals of math and then figure out by yourself how to apply it to the problem. It could be extremely difficult.
Yes, I think you mentioned that a couple of times already, like build on your strengths. And if your strength is in project management, it's I don't know, planning, domain expertise. So use that, right? And try to focus on problems first, and then eventually you will. Well, what for me works is practice, like get into code as fast as possible and then trying to code. But I'm also an engineer, and perhaps this is not the best suggestion for project management, for project managers, right? But like using these skills that they have already. Do you know how they can do this? Like, let's say a project manager doesn't know mathematics, they don't know how to code, but they have a lot of domain expertise. So I think you mentioned like learning at work, right? Doing some
exactly.
analysis.
Then is exactly practical case. So if you domain expert and you know, for example, in marketing, you know that user segmentation is a hot topic, and you struggle to find the optimal segmentation to run your marketing campaign efficiently and to attract users that you really want, and so on. You know the problem, and you know what you want to achieve. You know your KPIs at least, and you already can Google a bit how people usually solve this problem, what the best practices and so on, and just try to go from the problem because it's your strengths. Try to use it. So in this way, I would recommend to go from the use case that you have at work.
And yeah, so also what you did is you really thought carefully about your, at least that was my impression, like about how you structure your learning. And perhaps this is what you can also do as a project manager, to really think about like all these bits and pieces. And I don't know, find the, I was taking a course about project management recently, and I learned about this critical path expression, like the concept of critical path. So perhaps it's also important to find this critical path in your learning and, focus on that. Right?
Yeah. I have to mention that I spent 9 years on studying in my life, and I think the most important takeaway that I took is learn how to study. So basically, you will be studying all your life, and just get used to this. And if you will not find an efficient way to structure information, you will be lost. So it's important.
Do you have any other tips? Like tips, tricks to...
Yeah, I think I put something in my list. Personal tips and tricks how to get into data science faster and shorter. Probably you will be interested in it. I mentioned some of them, but I just want to summarize. Basically, get involved into the projects, voluntary projects, study project, open source project, doesn't matter. That's what I did. I actually was so active that I was involved in the, I volunteered to get involved in some research, local research, and did some analysis for 2 years in a row. And it's officially published in the internet, and many people have an interest in it. And it helped me to progress, and I also got a lot of feedback from people around who were interested in this, and it really helpful to improve. Then another tip. So get involved in the machine learning course from Open Data Science. It's helpful. So this is important. Narrow down your scope. Don't try to be a generalist, like data scientist and everything. So try to find your strengths, try to narrow your domain, and be active there, because otherwise you will be lost, as I mentioned. Yes, and when you're searching for the first job, it's also interesting and would be important to look at the annual service. I mean, service from O'Reilly, from JetBrains, and other service that actually explore data science field and ask data scientists which tools they use, which problems they resolved, and so on. That's you can find this service in internet, and I actually also did some service on this and analyze and posted also on internet, because it's my time when I started to work as a data scientist. I was so interested. What tools should I learn? What positions should I go, and so on? And to get some feelings about this, I joined some project and I get some research and analysis on this topic. So yeah, and communities. Join communities, it's important.
Yes. DataTalks.Club is a good
Yeah.
one.
You will not forget it. Yeah.
Yeah, like speaking of these surveys, I think also a good one is from Stack Overflow, even though it's
Yeah.
not data science specific, but I think they do a great job.
True.
And the Stack Overflow is a very large community, so the response rate and the amount of information that people share there is amazing. So you said one from O'Reilly, another one from JetBrains.
Yeah,
Okay.
also.
I wasn't aware of this JetBrains one.
Yeah, I found them last
Mhm.
year, and it's comprehensive. And it's also not in data science field, but it's development field, I would say. But it's a lot
Yeah,
of tools.
so if you can give me some links, I will put them in
Yeah.
the show notes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess so. Do you have any last words? No?
Yeah, probably. I want that this talk will be interested to people that really want to change their career and be brave enough, be active, and I definitely sure that you will tackle it. And I hope you all the best on your career path.
Yes, thanks. Thanks for joining us today and sharing all your experience, all your knowledge, and I know it wasn't easy, and like this career transition. So thanks a lot for coming today and sharing it all with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
And thanks everyone for attending and for watching. So I guess with that we can conclude, and I wish everyone a great weekend.
Bye bye.
Bye.